Shoot. So I had my microphone muted. So the live stream has been muted, wondering what the heck is going on over there. So sorry about that. We were 2 minutes into the Life Breath Club weekly meeting, and I'm muting the live stream. Well, just goes to show you the state of mind I'm in today. But that's okay. I'm here again today because I feel strong enough to be here. So as I said, yes, you are at the weekly meeting for the Life Breath Club for May 19th, 2014. And yes, this is Carrie Tucker, the Life Breath Coach from HeartFailureSolutions.com's Life Breath Club. So welcome and settle in and get comfortable. You're not muted out anymore, live stream. Shoot. And I'm just being gentle with myself as I settle into our weekly meeting. Jesse's here, I can see. Hello, Jesse, and welcome to the call. Thanks so much for showing up, and I feel your love and support. So many of you Life Breath Club members who have emailed me, thank you for your support as well. I'm here to support you on your healing journey, even when you don't think you need to heal. As I didn't really realize that I needed to attend to this issue in my inner ear. So I'm faced with I have some plastic in my inner ear from childhood, live stream to bring you up to date. You know, the tubes they place in small children's ears that push themselves out, you know, as you age. I've been aware that it's been there and unable to really deal with that, and having difficulty getting a referral now, even at this late stage of the game where it's causing some more significant issues, and still having trouble getting a referral to a specialist who has the technology and tools to be able to help me. You know, so navigating our health journey is oftentimes about navigating insurance. So I've heard so often my coworkers grumbling and complaining about we're trying to take care of people by practicing medicine or attending to their healthcare needs, but we're having to practice insurance and attend to insurance. And it gets to be a frustrating struggle. I know Anita, she shared so openly with us throughout her journey to figure out what the problems that needed solution were for Anita. And she had to start with what she thought was the priority and work her way forward. And sometimes we really just don't understand, you know, issues that need to be attended to in the beginning. We're focused on losing weight, perhaps, and it's all the other really significant, maybe even health crisis issues that we're unaware of, that we've got to uncover for ourselves. So for Anita, her health crisis issues were largely caused by, sourced from her breathing at her sleep apnea equipment. So when she stopped breathing at night, she has a machine that she uses to help her breathe. And her, what really was it was over breathing for her is what Anita was faced with. And that's something she really didn't even think to look at or think might be a problem if it was occurring. So it was interesting how Anita found her way along that journey, and once she corrected that issue, it really nice to see how a lot of other issues really cleared up for her and really allowed her to settle into a busy and active lifestyle. Before that, you know, just dropping the weight before she was even able to deal with that issue. That was still going on for her every night when she slept. But she was able to meet her oxygen needs and rapidly lost 20 pounds. So when John and Marcia came on and told us, you know, supplemental oxygen it's robs your quality of life, and it keeps you leashed to a machine, and it doesn't work, and it makes everything worse. And you know, we really tried to invite, wait, hold on, before you poison everybody on giving it a try, because Anita didn't need any encouragement to poison it. She wanted to push it aside and be done with it. But she kept getting sick, you know, so her cough was, today the theme of the call is cough. So Anita's cough was from recurring pneumonias and infections and things that were going on with her health, is what made her doctor really start to more urgently encourage her to use her oxygen, because he had always been saying use oxygen, and Anita had always been ignoring it unless she really, really needed it. And then, then she'd heed the warning and use the oxygen and feel like she had to, and like maybe she was giving up and dying, but she'd use that oxygen then. And the Life Breath Club encouraged her to just give it a try, just really diligently give it a try. You get sick of it and it makes your nose sore using supplemental oxygen if you use it all the time. But if you take it off when you're seated, right? Because when you're sitting down, especially when your spine is straight, if you're sitting upright, if you can, or with leaning back, but really attending to elongating your lumbar spine, rolling your shoulders back. Bring them forward, hook them and roll them back gently. Just, help unround that hitch we've got in that giddy up there in our upper spine. So many of us think it's just part of the aging process. But if you really work at that, you really work to stretch out your lumbar, your lower spine, stretch it out, and then lean up against your chair and settle into it so that your lower back can press into the chair and elongate, so you don't have that sway back so much. It's a gentle thing. You're just relaxing into the chair in a way that your lower back is stretched. When I get well enough to really begin to move forward with the blogging effort and bringing the internet, all of the stuff that I teach, or rather taught in the offline classes before my issues became so apparent. So the issue in my inner ear, my healthcare team really didn't understand. Well, let's not get off of Anita. I'll go get to my issues after I really finish discussing Anita's issues. She embraced the using oxygen for a week because we convinced her here. And she was sad, that call. She was like, oh, darn it. All right, I'm sad about it, but I'll do it for a week. And when she came back the next week, we laughed about that. But she began to really notice that she did feel more clear, and it did make a difference when she was really being good about it for a week and giving herself a break when she sat down, when there's no more effort being put out, just when she could sit still in her chair. She'd take a break from the oxygen, and when she was up and moving around, she'd use it even if she didn't feel like it. And when she felt like taking it off and just running to do something, nope, she'd inconvenience herself to keep supplementing. And over that first month, actually, she admitted later it was more like, little over 20 days. It was less than a month that she shed 20 pounds of weight, fluid weight. We really discussed how meeting your oxygen needs and really supporting that can really help you to shed a lot of fluid quickly. I've seen it happen many, many times, even when nurses and doctors argue with me. I've seen it too many times for anyone to convince me that this isn't exactly what we're doing. So if we can really utilize this supplemental oxygen to address this fluid issue, then there may be other things going on. Perhaps there's toxicity. Our bodies retain fluid to dilute a toxicity, to protect our environment, our inner environment from that toxicity. We retain fluid when we don't nourish ourselves well, right? So it isn't just heart failure, and sudden acute retention of fluids is a sign of heart failure. It's more than that, right? That's why fluid retention gets overlooked too long, because all these other things are going on that really Western medicine feels ill-equipped to really address. Detox has become a buzzword that the FDA wants to protect us from, that Google Ads has stopped allowing the word detox, that people are really beginning to understand that they need to to attend to detox. But over the years, literally years on this call, I've really like to address that we have detox going on all the time, right? In the process of chewing and swallowing food and it coming out the other end as feces, there's a detoxing, elimination process happening, right? We're pulling out anything we're not wanting to use and eliminating it on an ongoing basis. As we inhale, as we breathe, we're eliminating waste gases, right? We're constantly detoxifying our system, right? Our homeostasis, our comfort zone depends on this level of detox. Yeah. And actually, when we stop polluting ourselves, sometimes that's very uncomfortable, right? Because we're very much used to this level of toxicity. And as we throw ourselves out of balance and our bodies are going, whoa, what's going on here? You know, where's the new comfort zone? Where's the new homeostasis? Then we might purge a little bit excessively. We might really get uncomfortable. That's why really it's such a good idea, unless you are in real 911 kind of crisis, to wean away from any type of stimulant, especially, right? Like, so caffeine, hello? Sometimes we're careless about it. That's why there's so much heart emergency on Monday morning, because we take on that powerful dose of caffeine after maybe not, you know, having 5 cups a day all week long, right? We had a break all weekend, and we take a powerful dose of caffeine on Monday morning. Honest to goodness, if you look at the statistics, it's a very sharp increase in numbers of incidents, right? Right on Monday morning, first thing. Right, it has everything to do with caffeine if you really look at all the research around it. And there's a lot of research that says caffeine is good for you in a lot of ways. But we cannot fail to recognize that caffeine acts in our bodies. The stimulating effect is very identical in a biochemical nature to cocaine. So, you know, Caffeine Blues is a really good book. That half the book, it looks like a daunting book, but it's really most of its footnotes to say where the information can be located if you want to look for yourself. I mean, the author felt so strongly about including every resource that he used that he really insisted that the credits to the fingers pointing to the references be included. And you know, it's interesting to take a look where he pointed. A lot of that information is under offered, let's put it that way. That, you know, we're in the information age, but so much of the helpful information that's available to us is really up to us to find and not put in front of us to trip over. But as we really take a look at what Anita did with just simple information that was coming to her that she was actually resistant of, right? So the simple information was to use oxygen. And when she finally said, okay, she said, take a break only when I'm sitting. Even though, see, John and Marcia's really point was that they were using it when they were seated because it was convenient then, so okay, I'll use it then. But it's just too much inconvenience. It's a trip hazard, right? It's annoying. It rubs on you. It makes you sore. It makes your nose run with the flow through your nose. It's not fun. We don't want to do it. And not utilizing really during times of exertion, really giving it a good 7-day trial. Of really utilizing, and enough oxygen, right? Because if you're utilizing one of the regulating devices that goes and just gives you a little bit at the beginning of your breath, maybe it's not meeting your needs. So even though you have it on, you're being inconvenienced by the portable and all that, that you're not actually keeping your oxygen, your blood oxygen saturation above 92%. Magic number, which is a matter of pressure, right? We need that in order to meet our needs. And if we're not meeting our needs, then the oxygen supplementation that we're doing really isn't actually doing justice to our 7-day trial, right? We've got to really make sure we're meeting our needs. And sometimes it's, if you go to heartfailuresolutions.com/oximeter, OXIMETER. I'm pretty sure I made a link, a redirect link there for you to Amazon, that reasonably priced oximeters. Because as we age, it's really a great idea. I think it was Quincy Jones. Jesse's here to correct me. I believe that she offered that resource for us. I still think I haven't found exactly that place where I can quote the man, but where he said he uses it himself. An oximeter that he can place on his finger and see where he's at oxygenation-wise. If you live in a really polluted area, perhaps, or you're not caring for yourself with nutrition, and maybe you're taking on too many stimulants or smoking or anything like that you need to monitor. I mean, even if we really think we're living well, if we are noticing that shallow, rapid breathing when we take in the groceries or do any heavy house cleaning, right? We see that shallow, rapid breathing. That's a clue. It tells us that something's going on there. And really doing the work to slow exhale, straight spine, meditate and create stillness and to settle into so that we can release the tension in our muscles and allow for a more natural parasympathetic breathing, right? That deeper subconscious breathing, right? And then our presence points to our solution. Right, so for Anita, wow, losing 20 pounds after she applied what her presence was pointing to, right? A good, honest trial for 7 days of oxygen kept her going. You know, and at 21, 22 days in, she dropped a bunch of weight. She felt a lot better. She was really surprised at old pictures that she really saw the fluid in her face after it came off, right? And, you know, that was her acknowledging her progress so that she could stay with her program and keep moving forward. You know, and she's still navigating that. She went to a new doctor to find the solution to her nighttime ventilation, got better ventilation at night, but kind of had to tweak that. You know, it was kind of over-ventilating there for a bit when she was under-ventilating too rapidly and then over-ventilating too rapidly. She went to proper ventilation and then less ventilation. So it took a while before she really got the significant change, and that was frustrating for her. But she kept at it. And now she's got that sweet spot, and her doctor understands what she needs, and that's half the battle right there. And she's also encouraged by her family, who's happy to carry her portable oxygen. And she knows that this is what it takes to really build that strength, to keep that independent lifestyle, and that's what's going to keep from burdening her family as she ages. So she allows them to help her care for herself, right? So this is the name of the game in Anita's world. So the life breath coach, I'm here to coach you, and yet the coach, you know, if the teacher doesn't remain a student, then the teacher's not a very good teacher. So I can humbly present my story to you all as an example of keep on applying this in your life, right? Because until you die, you keep growing, you keep evolving, you navigate the obstacles as we age, right? Because so often just aging is blamed on the loss of health or the deterioration of vitality, when in fact there is a source of the problem that can be, you know, resolved. Yeah, there's a solution to it. You can resolve it. And if we're not looking, we're not going to find it, right? So the life breath coach's story. I'm trying hard to allow my breathing to bring me into this present moment. Yeah, with this raging colony of bacteria still in the center of my head around this tube, I'm really paying homage here to how amazing our bodies are to compensate for whatever's going on and to protect us from harm. Now, my body built this encapsulated, really, this piece of plastic, right, with this layer. You know, we can say that my ear was wet and the bacterial fungal stuff that grows in a wet environment, right? Just like how yuck in our bodies gives medium for bacteria to grow in. Even fluid from our weakened heart or our malfunctioning kidneys gives a place for bacteria to grow because of the moisture, right? So we could say that happened, or we could say that my body utilized the materials available to it to encapsulate this very irritated and chronically draining, right? That's what happens with this piece of plastic in a head. This common complication is this chronic drainage. And my body said, oh no, we're gonna keep this stuff to itself in here. And for a long time, for, you know, decades even, I'm 49 years old, I don't mind telling you, and this was put in my head before I was 10. My mom's not sure what age I was. I thought I was 16, but she discussed it with me, and no, indeed I was much younger than that, but older than typically they place these tubes. I remember them telling me I was so old for this procedure, and I felt silly and embarrassed. That's all I remember. But I think I know I was in school. I remember missing school to have the procedure done. So, and I gather this is normally done to toddlers, and they push them their way out. Sometimes they do many different sets of tubes to help allow the drainage. If the problem is infection, if the problem is hearing. As I researched it online, I gather they do it with adults around hearing and infection issues, but more commonly hearing in adults, because the ear canals are larger and the problem of clogging is less common than in children. But hearing can be attended to in the medical field through trying to allow for this drainage. That's what they're really going for in putting tubes in the ear membrane, to allow the ear canal to remain open and unclogged. So this is what I had faced as a child, and really looking back on it, recognizing that the trauma that I remembered more acutely when my father died last September, I can laugh and feel happy to have acknowledged and expressed all this stuff I didn't even know was in me. and to release all of that, to just go, wow, look at that. And cry, scream, yell, whatever it is I needed to do, right, to begin to nurture myself better, because I was more present and more aware now that there was less garbage in my way, right? These trapped emotions that we don't allow expression really interfere in our health, and it really presents itself. So you could say that was a plastic in my head from childhood, but you can also say that my whole disease process involved my inability to process this emotion from childhood that I didn't even know was in me, right? This anger at being overpowered by the pedophile in my family, right? This anger. And that's typically where we hold this in our bodies, in our ears, headaches, ear issues, have so much to do with anger. We know this, and we can acknowledge it. We're free to acknowledge it. Many still don't acknowledge this today, so that in addressing ear health, they may not even be willing to take a look at how emotions play into ear health, right? And anger is not socially acceptable. It's just not okay, but it's just another emotion, right? I'm being sarcastic here, and but don't you see that in your life and other people's reactions to anger, right? We think anger is a bad thing many times because we're encouraged to, whereas anger is just another emotion if we use it to protect our child from harm or whatever, right? Anger can be a useful emotion. Anger certainly should never be spewed on other people in an unhealthy way, right? That's why we need to allow anger healthy expression, right? When we try to say, oh, nope, no anger, it's not there, go away, then it comes out in unhealthy ways. Where when we can just really acknowledge and allow whatever there is that needs to come up. Sometimes it's just so hard to cry anymore. We just don't want to do it anymore. But so often, the tears are resistance, right? It's like, no, no, no kind of crying, as opposed to just surrendering to the raw emotion that is making you leak, right? Just allow that cleansing of your tears, right? Right? So often we just really aren't doing that, and it's our resistance that doesn't see that, right? So we're not allowing our tears to be a wave in the ocean of emotion that is, who we are in this life, right? And just being present in this moment, in the now, that's only now, right? It precedes our senses. We can't feel it, sense it, think about it. Yeah, we've got to just be in the now, waiting on all that stuff. Where we really become aware of all the stuff we don't know. Yeah. Or stuff that we maybe stumbled across and had some success with previous, and oh yeah, I forgot about that. You know how often that happens, right? And so often what you are becoming aware of in this present moment is something you already discovered a while back and forgot, right? So my ear troubles, like I didn't know that this plastic in my head was causing trouble. Well, yeah, I did. In my 20s, I had some chronic sinus infections, kind of switched to more of a plant-based diet, and that kind of went away. So I guess you could say my health stopped my focus on attending to this piece of plastic in my head. I wasn't having chronic sinus infections anymore. Ta-da! Problem solved. Well, not really though, right? Because this plastic is still in my head. I had some really strange fever with imbalance a couple times, and I don't remember. It was a really overburdened. My children were young. I had autoimmune issues going on that perhaps, arguably, could be attributed to what was going on within this slowly encapsulating piece of plastic in my head. You know, who knows, right? Autoimmune really scares us because it's so beyond us. And yet it's not, right? Because so much of what's being done, you know, if I was truly healthy and could really get back on my feet to develop resources and invite in some of the professionals, that you can go Google them and send them a private message in some way. It's very amazing how available people are today. You know, we think of research as being done by people that are in some other kind of world, you know. You know, maybe they're lived long ago or something. But more and more in this information age, our resources that we do our, you know, wide research on any topic, so many of these are people that we can actually access and have conversation with. And wow, does our learning grow, and does our self-awareness and our self-solution really become apparent to us when we make it you know, real and up close. We're more likely to apply what we're learning and to not forget to keep applying, right? So often the miracle healings, you know, really get our attention, but the simple attending to nurturing that causes health is anticlimactic. Yeah, it doesn't get the hurrah moment that it really deserves. You know, so if we can really stay present and aware, journal our healthcare, right? Healthcare, self-care, right? All in our book. Just open it up right at the beginning of each day. It's a great thing to start out with gratitude. What are you grateful for? Because if you're really committed to a health journey, you know, a healing journey towards optimal vital health at any age, right, then your daily practice would involve beginning with our gratitude for what's going on in our lives. Yeah, maybe we're not short of breath at this moment. Is it something to be grateful for? The sun shining in the sky, you know. And then to write down, you know, maybe if you didn't have time the day before, can you remember this morning? You know, what'd you eat yesterday? All day. Did you drink water? How much? Right? Do you remember your dreams? And arguably my dream teachers would say, do that first, because you might not remember if you don't do that first. And it's valuable. Yeah. We can get to know ourselves by expressing ourselves on paper, an artistic expression, any way that appeals to you, right? Get out in nature, and nature she has many different personalities. You can seek out the one that most appeals to you. As simple as the park in your neighborhood. Hopefully you have one. I was looking at Central Park. What a really wonderful thing parks are. There should be more parks in the world. But nature on the edge of every civilized area, but some of those stretch on for miles. I feel for those in a concrete jungle. It seals out so much of nature's healing qualities for you. So much of my solution that kept me so healthy, that kept this piece of plastic in my head with very little health problem to notice? Yes, my ear has been uncomfortable over the years. At times, my hearing's been less than good. I probably have a hearing loss that I don't notice because it's been gradual since childhood. And I was really, I mean, I hear better than I did as a child, certainly. As a very small child in kindergarten, I remember being really unable to hear what the teacher was saying. And I can communicate with people easily. My children tend to complain. my healthcare team thinks that's funny when I offer that around my hearing. I'm not sure if I have hearing loss, but my kids tell me I'm deaf. But that was one of the things, I think. My daughter pointing out increasing fatigue. I think that I wasn't noticing because I allow for a strange sleep schedule because I can. Right, and work around my work, and sometimes even caregiving. When I do caregiving work on the side that involves end of life care, there's round the clock care, and I'll get into a weird sleep thing. And it was her really nagging at me. Same as low oxygen level. It causes short-term memory loss. So does sleep deprivation. Right, you can really just not put the P's and Q's in their place. You need a little help from those who love you. It's often leave me alone. My daughter accuses me of this. When she gives me my feedback, I'm not receptive. But I am. I just have to react. When you're sleep deprived, you're not healthy, but you're not recognizing it. You can't be healthy and sleep deprived. So until you attend to your sleep debt, you haven't reversed your disease process enough to get out of irritation. Remember that free ebook you get on heartfailuresolutions.com? Yeah, increase your oxygen. That's what I'm talking about, those 7 stages of disease, and how if you really recognize what's going on in your body, that irritation, including emotional and mood irritation, it's something that should get your attention, right? It's something that says, hey, what's going on here? Right? And it's not always sleep debt. Maybe sometimes sleep too much. If we get into an unhealthy sleep pattern where we just sleep too much, it's actually, they're showing is contributing to, at least, it's a contributor at least to depression. So looking at sleep is such an interesting thing. But also allowing that, when you wake up in the middle of the night, so often folks worsen their insomnia by going crazy when they notice they're awake in the middle of the night. Yeah. So often as you age, you have to pee in the middle of the night, and we talk a lot about that as that increases, and your cough that comes with that increased peeing at night is increased fluid, right? And a cough that's clear is something to be concerned about because your heart may be weak, right? So I know I'm the usual unscripted life breath coach hour-long banter that probably doesn't appeal to a lot of people. I'm not everybody's coach. And as I get healthier, maybe I'll appeal to more people. It's my dream to help more people. But since I'm as well as I can be today, and I have lots of strength, while I acknowledge that I need to flush my ear 4 times a day, use the antibiotic solution that my doctor has prescribed, get to the ENT when my appointment arrives, and attend to my needs, right? That this is the best health I can be in today. And I acknowledge that all the Life Breath Club's weekly meetings over these years have likely been affected by this disease process, right? Because I just kept showing up each week, ready to mastermind, a 1-hour commitment to focus on health. Mine and anyone who comes to the call and stays committed to the call to maintaining their health and vitality as best can be expected, because expecting that aging will rob your health and vitality means not discovering solution that's available, right? It's embracing problem and ignoring solution. So that's why I feel so blessed to have been served by coming to this weekly mastermind, that no matter how embarrassing it was at times to show up and banter here, that there was so much feedback from people that shared and were concerned enough about me to maybe attend to their needs a little better. That's what the Life Breath Club is for, to really bring us back on task. Chad Kubo, the life dance coach, here our trusted advisor in the Life Breath Club, he is simplifying his life. He's minimizing his life and living in a much smaller space, since he chooses to stay in an increasingly expensive area to live in, and reduce his commute time and spend time with his daughter in ways that are productive and healthy, and to have more time to cook and exercise and relax, right? Begin in stillness. Begin each day and begin our health journey in stillness. So Chad and I get together once a week, just Chad and I, where we're really able to hold each other more accountable. And that's something that I always advise all you Life Breath Club members. So Jesse has really been committed in showing up live here, which changes everything for me. I know whether you know it or not, Jesse, it really changes everything for me to settle in and feel loved and to have faith, right? That even if you don't know what the problem is, that solution is ever present, right? And so I'll just settle back into that and share the rest of my story with you before I really like to invite you to share what's going on with you at the end of the call here, if you're open to it. Anybody, everybody, Jesse, as well as anybody else who might be open and willing to do that. And I'll check the Google Plus site over there, see if anything comes in that way, although the way I started call's a mess today, so they might be lost over there. The membership area of the heartfailuresolutions.com blog has, that's where the Life Breath Club online membership lives, which will grow and get more good stuff over there as soon as we find our feet. It has the live stream over there. I'll check those comments, and the lines will be unmuted here on the phone. You get the live stream link and the phone number in the email. If you've stumbled across us and dropped off our mailing list, it's heartfailuresolutions.com/moving, and that'll get you on our mailing list. But you've got to sign up on the blog if you want to log in to get the protected content. Most of it's unprotected right now, so don't fool yourselves that you're good to go and you're logged in. You may not be. Once I begin to get in there and do the work to conceal and protect some of our community-only content, then you guys will need to be logged in. And if we come across more problems, we'll have to attend to them then when we get into closed door mode. We can do more awesome sharing and heart-to-heart brainstorming when we are in a private, secluded place where we can nurture each other. The Life Breath Coach's story continues with really acknowledging how I became more aware of the disease process that I was not acknowledging, right? So the white fuzziness in my ear, my doctor said it didn't culture anything, probably was nothing to worry about. They didn't have much luck with removing the tube in the doctor's office, and digging in my ear was painful, and I was concerned they might damage my hearing for good. I had trouble getting a referral all the time and just never followed up enough with it because it didn't bother me enough. And the ridges in my fingernails, I know that's definitely a sign of low oxygen, and I blamed it on my dental health. Yeah, and really began to focus on my dental health. And it was my dentist who began to really point to, just in conversation and my mention of my ear, and could be a problem. No one's really that concerned. And he's the one, actually she's the one. I had one dentist that didn't push too hard, and so I didn't push. But the recent she dentist that definitely pushed and definitely mentioned it to me one last time before she exited after giving me the dental care I came for. Really saying, please, don't let this go. And going to my healthcare team, having my dentist saying this on my behalf helped. It helped my healthcare team to brush this under the rug because I didn't present in that, yeah, it's uncomfortable, I suppose, fever, any other signs of nah, that's what I've been saying for years. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but she said it definitely looks wet. And so we decided drying solution. And it might really hurt because when there's a tube that goes into the inner ear and you introduce a drying solution that makes its way into the inner ear, I know from experience that that's very painful. And that's what I was expecting. And it has been not so painful in the beginning to extremely excruciating to a little bit better to back towards extreme. And it's been lots of times where I'm more comfortable if I don't keep rinsing my ear. And this is where I can see that it's taken my commitment to get me this far, is that I know that debriding this encapsulated gunk is how I'm going to get more care at the ear, nose, throat specialist, right? I can't just go in there with a lifelong problem. Well, it really 9 years specifically, because they could view it, they saw the white fuzziness, but they could still see the tube for all these years until 9 years ago when I got an abscess in my neck. And they suspected that ear might be problematic at the time, but they couldn't attend to it because the huge abscess in my neck was the urgent issue. They were worried about me being able to breathe and all, and they attended to that first. And then the complications from the antibiotic therapy, thank God I hadn't really taken antibiotics for couple decades at that point, and that they were effective enough to reduce this abscess so that it could be lanced, drained, and it really resolved completely and quickly for me in my neck. And at that point, though, I was bleeding from my bowel because of the harsh effects of these incredibly powerful antibiotics. So then the focus was there, right? We really attend to emergency and put out fires without really, getting at cause. Right? And from there, it was dental issue after dental issue until the dentist really pushed for my healthcare team to address the issues of my ear. And at first, it was kind of slow in coming. It was a lot of pain for me and not a lot of insight for them. They said they don't see a tube. It probably fell out. Right? I'm like, there is a tube. I know it. I can feel it. And still, we don't have that resolved, right? And the stuff that's coming out is not liquid. It's mostly solid, So, really what I'm beginning to put together, the pieces of this puzzle for me, and my doctor seems to be coming on board with my educated opinion, right? Because your doctor's opinion is an educated opinion. And if you have anything to bring to the table, it behooves you to do so, right? You need to be your own best advocate. And if you don't feel like you're able to keep up with the information that's being presented, the symptoms that are presenting themselves, then get somebody on your side who can advocate for you. Have them keep a journal, write down all the data, right? Let's have something concrete to go on, right? And as I began to really feel more drainage down my throat, causing diarrhea, out my ear, causing really significant irritation to the outer part of my ear. That was definitely very new. Then we began to culture Pseudomonas, which is not very easy to culture out of an ear. So a really significant bacterial colony within my ear. So we're starting, now we're getting to the bottom of it. Every now and again, TMJ issues coming and going, but really starting to understand how all of this stuff that I've been dealing with over the last 9 years, this is our source, and really to get excited that I've finally been able to follow through enough to find solution. I don't seem to be retaining fluid, right? My appetite's coming back. That's been a mystery for a long time. I really felt like I wasn't hydrated enough. I wasn't diligent about hydration, which is true. It was harder to take on fluids. I felt nauseous because of this constant infection in my head. Now I can take on fluids much more easily, so which is probably really largely a solution in helping to encourage that appetite And so it's easier to nourish myself, and I don't forget to eat so often because my digestive system is humming, you know. I'm not all backed up. Yeah, I don't have hiccups all the time. I don't have trouble with bowel movements so much as things begin to resolve. Though, you know, this drainage is really irritating. So there's setbacks. And so every time you begin to move forward and start to see, we want to abandon ship. So I wanted to share with you, just along my healing journey, that's been really, really key, is that you know, I backed off the drying agent. My doctor has recommended vinegar to use as our drying agent, and I am using my doctor's advice and using vinegar as my drying agent. And I kind of backed off on the ratio and used less vinegar because it was painful. I didn't like that part. But we really started going backwards. And it was because I keep going in each week and consulting with her to each have her look in there, see if there's a change, what's going on. And that's where we really, oh, you know what? You really shouldn't be doing that. You need to increase that ratio of drying agent. Oh, darn it. I didn't want to hear that. But thank goodness I went in and I was open and I heard her and I did it. And, you know, I noticed that she said, come on, 4 times a day. Like, that takes a lot of time. She's like, I know, but, you know. So, you know, just really listening to my doctor, following through. It's a lot of pain. So that's another reason why, oh, gosh, the time flies, you know. And only got 3 in today, darn it, you know. I'm really not wanting to be consistent because it hurts too much. But to really recognize that that's what's debriding the yuck that's around this piece of plastic in my head, so that the ear, nose, throat specialist won't be going, well, what do you want me to do with this, lady? Geez, you've been sitting on this thing for 9 years. You want me to go in there and find the thing now, right? So, you know, when I go in each week, and the nurses at the clinic are getting very good at really flushing ears. Boy, everybody else is well served by my chronic issue, and that those girls are getting good. So the ladies at the clinic, hats off to them. Oh my God, I love them. And they've been getting out this cellular debris, they call it, and just, you know, really recognizing that this is what's been encapsulating the problem in my head, so that I could go on about my life, right? My healthcare team is like, well, come on, wouldn't you be more sick than this if this wasn't a significant issue? And now that they're starting to pay attention because of the ongoing changes and what they're able to flush out of my head, and the culture that occasionally comes back positive for Pseudomonas. Not always, because they're really acknowledging that it's that deep, right? They don't have readily available access to my inner ear, right? Because my ear canals are too small. At least the right one is, right? And it's that they're debriding that ear canal. That white cellular debris is what they see along my ear canal and along parts of the membrane to my ear. Starting to see more pink membrane in there. So it's slowly, little by little, we're improving it. So, I mean, look what a chronic issue the Life Breath Coach can allow to build up, right? So it's humble yourselves and come on into the discussion that sometimes it's inactivity. Yeah, that we've really allowed an inactive lifestyle. Sometimes it's really living out of a box or fast foods, right? It's really hard to come back to a whole foods way of living, right? This is what we want to get the discussion on the Life Breath Club going around. Beautiful trails in nature, right? Just if we can share those with each other, we can create stillness in ourselves. Yeah, put a smile on each other's faces, because we can feel the expansiveness of nature in our pictures that we share with each other. Yeah, it might just get us out the door and down the road, so that we're walking in our neighborhoods, so that we're seeking some kind of nature somewhere nearby to nurture ourselves with. That we begin to discuss, you know, how do you embrace, say, vegetables and fruits in a more whole and less processed way? Right? Are grains healthy for you right now on your journey, your path? And if so, how could they be more whole and wholesome than what you're currently using? Right? Breads and cereals, so very processed. Right? This is what we want to be talking about. Right? How do we become more active? How can we have more fun in a social way? right? Active meaning physically, socially, spiritually, just engage and relate to each other so that we pull each other back into community and get more juice in our lives, right? So that we can really begin to share community in a larger way, in a more encompassing way, so that we can really begin to allow global health. So we've only got 9 minutes until we're at the top of our 60 minutes of masterminding hour. And I'll look to see, is anybody live willing to share with us today? How about you, Jesse? Are you with us, Jesse? I see in the dashboard, and maybe she's pulled away and needing to take care of.
No, I'm here. I just had to get off and mute, get my phone, get off and mute. I'm wondering, so my understanding that one of the main reasons for the coughing is basically inflammation.
Oh, Jesse, I haven't even addressed cough. So thank you, Jesse, for being here and for helping the Life Breath Coach to better serve our audience, our community. So cough, chronic inflammation, what I had wanted to talk to you about on the phone, on the call here today. Thank you, Jesse. If I have to go over the hour, I'll cover it. Oh my gosh, thank you, Jesse. So we've had a lot of conversation about cough in within the Life Breath Club emails and so forth. It's really not very public, and that's why I'd wanted to bring it to the call today. Some Life Breath Club members have really begun to address the fact that, wow, you know what, I think my ears might have something to do with this chronic cough. One of our members has a hernia surgery because of this cough. It's done damage there that had to be repaired, and really addressing that ears were likely very causative and really haven't gotten much resolved there, still working at it a little bit, but open and applying. Another Life Breath Club member, Ken, said that he had this chronic cough for months going on, and just a few days time he was using peroxide vinegar rinse in his ears and enlisted the help of the local clinic there one time, and that his cough gradually eased up and went away completely after just as a really chronic period, and it was a really harsh cough. Yeah, that just shook and rattled his frame. It was amazing to hear it over the phone, And so really hearing about Ken's story of completely resolving cough through attending to just allowing and flushing away some of the buildup and debris that had accumulated in ears. So really attending to ear health. So I wanted to share my story around that, and thank you, Jesse, for calling attention to that. But this is inflammation, chronic inflammation as well, as Jesse just pointed out. So cough is the ears, the sinuses, the nasal and oral pharynx. So we're talking.
Recording stopped.
I don't know why.
Conference recording started.
So as we look at inflammation of any of these areas within this upper airway, we think of airway and breathing as being our lungs and our chest. But in respiratory therapy school, we really began there that upper airway is your sinuses are actually a big cavernous hole in the middle of your head, right? It's a large open cavity, your sinus cavity, right? And so that's part of your airway. Your oral pharynx is where your ears drain into, right? Right there behind your nasal oral pharynx is where your ears are doing their thing and keeping their the ear canal and the eardrum, clear, and any accumulation of yuck that might come in there is drained there down your throat and into, you swallow it and out it goes through out your system. But our airway there is affected as our ears drain into that pharynx area, right? And this is our upper airway. So cough can be stimulated and triggered anywhere there in the upper airway there with any kind of inflammation. As well, a cough that's originates from our lungs can be, so what's chronic bronchitis? It's inflammation of the bronchi. It's inflammation of the bronchiole. So the bronchi are the large airways, and there's a lot of stuff below that. So we put a label on it. We say, oh, that's what it's from, and we don't really get down to the very cause of it, which is inflammation, like Jesse spoke up, thank God, and offered here on the call, because the Life Breath Coach is too absent today to really address what we came for. Thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate you. But yes, inflammation, this chronic inflammation. So this chronic cough can be that. Although smoker's hack, right, is also this chronic inflammation. What I kind of wanted to talk about as well on the call today was acute cough. So a wet kind of a cough that begins, even a moistness in the cough. So say a chronic dry cough has begun to sound moist, or this moist sort of a rumbling cough where there was no cough before. Right? And it's only clear mucus. There's no yellow or green to it. But if you have a clear production of mucus, you can expect to have repeating pneumonias. Right? It's part of this process we start to point to with early onset heart failure, because heart failure is an epidemic in this country, right? So much of what we talk about on Life Breath Club is about processing emotion, because we see so much early heart failure around inability to process emotions. And sometimes people really aren't ready to hear that. They say, oh, you say I'm going to die young because I've had trauma in my life? No, not at all. We just encourage you to process emotions so that you don't develop this early onset of heart failure, as can be so commonly caused by being unable to process emotion. But there's so many other factors, such as toxicity in our environment, really working ourselves to death, worry and stress, right? Not creating the stillness and the rejuvenation, right? Not nurturing ourselves with good foods. There are so many other issues that can be at play, but we can't really get down to basics and nurture ourselves until we attend to the emotional processing that allows us to be still and present and aware enough to self-nurture. Right? And as we self-nurture, we become more aware of the messages that arise to us along our healing journey that point to our solutions. So chronic inflammation, are we eating more plant-based diet, more fruits and vegetables that are from the earth, with no processing between, right? If we're checking out grains and seeing how grains work in our diet, then we're trying to utilize them in a more whole form, right? Before they're processed and stripped of their sheath and put in a bag, right? That we get them from a source that gives it to us closer to the source, right? Less middleman, less processing. All of that good stuff, right? As well as utilizing anything you can put in a blender and keep it whole and fresh and raw. Now, utilizing raw foods resources. That's a good idea to really help you take on this new mentality of looking at nourishing yourself in a different way. All of these things can really be restorative. Maybe even going to your doctor to get a diuretic that pulls off fluid so that you can get oxygen to your system and exhaled gases out of your system easier. You can get your nutrition easier, right? Because this retained fluid is in the way. And taking a drug to reduce that fluid might get us back on a more solid ground so that we can stop utilizing the diuretic and have the energy to seek out a supplement. God forbid, go to the kitchen and actually make those smoothies in the blender. Sounds too simple. It's almost insulting, but it's that powerful a medicine. Our food really is our medicine. Right? And as we attend to our health by nurturing ourselves, sometimes just the healing that occurs there, we can do it without drugs, right? But sometimes drugs can get us to the point where we feel like it caring, right? We feel the vitality to keep seeking, right? So cough that has clear mucus is sometimes about inflammation in sinuses and so forth. The upper airway drains down the back of your throat, right? So if you wonder where your cough is coming from, then by all means you should have somebody listen to your chest immediately if it's productive, right? So I've even become aware of an issue my son developed with before we removed all carpeting from my home, with my ear without a stethoscope, because I didn't have one handy at the time. But perhaps your caregiver wants to invest in a stethoscope just to listen for any fluid that shows up. Yeah, loud popping fluid or little really crunchy sounding fluid. right? And to bring attention right away whenever fluid is heard, any movement, any popping, any crackling is heard in the area of your lungs. It goes all the way down to the bottom of your rib cage, right? And really hear that exchange of gases occurring in your lungs, then you can really become aware of your lungs being the source, right? Because so often it's sinuses are the source, but they can chronically pollute lungs, right, with all the drainage that's coming down our nasopharynx area, right, and give us a repeated pneumonia until the lungs are involved in the process, right? That's why attending to the health of your sinuses early on can really help to minimize the suffering that we might experience if we don't attend to sinus health. As well, just the cough, that chronic cough makes it tighter airways, it makes tighter muscles, right? The pain that can start to occur because of the breaking, the degenerative processes of a chronic cough, right? But really just becoming aware that sudden onset of flu, like if we gain a lot of weight overnight and start to develop pitting edema in our ankles, we would expect a cough, right? Because this sudden weight gain, yeah, you don't suddenly gain fat, you don't suddenly gain muscle, you suddenly gain fluid. And when you suddenly gain fluid, which is fluid, sudden onset of fluid is our health crisis issue that we most address. That's really why I created the Life Breath Club, was to address this sudden onset of fluid that most people don't realize is a really extreme issue, and that we really, by attending to it and not ignoring it, especially a wet cough, an increasingly wet cough, and to really be a nag where our loved ones maybe don't follow through, aren't bothered enough, right? That we can be the catalyst that gets them the help they need, right? Because so often, I remember one time one of my caregivers called me in because her father was being stubborn, and she had a stethoscope and she heard trouble. And I came and I discussed with him that he said, no, just let me die. And I discussed with him how I only heard noise in 2 lobes of the 6, where he was moving air in the other 4 lobes of his lungs very well. So why go ahead and lay down and die if you have a pneumonia in 2 lobes, right? And enlisted his cooperation, and off he went to the doctor. Actually, he was hospitalized for a little while that time. It was a pneumonia. But they, it healed, and he lived through a lot more happy memories, I'll tell you, after that incident. So this is the reason why we want to really address a cough or a change in a cough. So sorry we got more about story than teaching today. Another rambling life breath coaching hour. Thanks for joining me and keeping me more valuable to our community, Jessie. And all you folks who utilize the recording, I love you, and thank you for your emails. Keep sending them. They mean the world to me. I hope to have good news for you next week again. I'll still be waiting. I don't get to go to my next step, which is the ear, nose, throat specialist, and hopefully get some resolution so I can feel a lot better and stronger and more able to serve our wonderful Life Breath Club community. If not, I will send you an email canceling that call by Friday, I promise. I'm going to be easy on myself, and if I feel like I just need to have a day of rest before I travel to another island to face the next step on the journey and meet Dr. Tam, I'll let you know how he is. Hopefully he's an awesome guy with an awesome educated opinion. It sounds like he's dealt with the issue I believe I'm dealing with, and he will give me his educated opinion when I see him. And I will bring a report back here to you as soon as, that'll be 2 weeks from today. God willing, I guess I could say, all things work out for the best. I should be able to not miss a beat, but meet you here next week, same time, same place, and the following week, same time, same place. I'll trust that I will be, and I'll let you know if it happens otherwise. Until we meet again next week, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. I won't take any more than 5 extra minutes. See you next week, Life Breath Club. Aloha nui.
Conference recording stopped.
Where's the live stream? Thanks for joining us, live stream, and people listening to the recording. We really appreciate you. You're more a part of our community than you know. Aloha nui.